What up, Isaac and Friends fam? It's an awesome day. So, I told you guys if you really liked the podcast style video, you'd be getting another one. That video, which was our 10,000 subscriber special, went well over 1,000 views. You guys knocked it out of the park. You absolutely loved it. It's been a while. It has been a while, which is why I'm doing this now. Just kind of doing this, especially while Trey is a little bit away. He's still kind of tired from moving, and he's not fully there. So yeah, he's still gonna be doing his stuff. So today I'm actually gonna be kind of just talking different subjects, mainly an observation I've kind of made when it just comes with business and economics. And for those of you not familiar with me, hi, my name's Isaac. This is Isaac and Friends. We usually do, or I usually do gameplay, so I'm always doing Need for Speed. Uh, sometimes some Gran Turismo. Sometimes we just finished up Call of Duty 2. We've got, oh my gods, I have a large list of video games that I play. So if you're looking for gameplays, hit subscribe. We do that too. So we also have wow, our kitty lord. You can't see him right now. There. Fix that for a second. There's our floopy lord of Katniss. Hi. Meow. Uh, there we go. Um, well, yeah. I mean, just I'm gonna just say it now. I'm just amazed at how poorly a lot of corporations are run these days. Just the sheer amount of they're badly run. And I know I harp on YouTube all the time, but it's also because it's one of the few corporations that I'm always directly involved with, being a content creator. And oh boy, is YouTube just abysmally run as a corporation. You're talking about a company with over 2.5 billion active users monthly worldwide, and it only brings in 7 billion in annual in 3 months. So just to give you guys an understanding, what that means is that YouTube practically only brings in 1.7 to 1.8 billion a month. Now, for a company with a global audience monthly of 2.5 billion, that is just pathetic. There are companies with a lot less that do way better than that. So, I mean, YouTube literally is one of the worst run businesses I have ever seen. And I pay attention to businesses a lot. So, I mean, Disney recently has been a pretty damn good close contender. Um like holy cow. How do you destroy things like Star Wars, which was a franchise that literally spawned a religion and then curb stomp it into the ground? That one that's a pretty bad bad thing right there. But one of the reasons why effectively I think that YouTube in general is pretty abysmally run is, like I said, for a company that only makes 1.5 billion to 1.8 billion monthly, despite the sheer amount of customers they have, it's it's just sad in general, especially when they can make so much more money. One of the things that I just don't understand is that people are always talking about how, oh, these companies are so greedy. I'm like, I don't think they're so much greedy. Greedy means that they're willing to do whatever they need to actually make money. Excuse me while I wet my whistle here. Greedy means that you actually, do everything you can reasonably to make money. You're not going to try and put yourself in any legal problems. You're not going to try and sit there and fight the government over something stupid. which I've seen a lot of these corporations do quite a lot. I mean, when you're talking about corporations straight up fighting their customers like Disney has for the last several months, I mean, holy cow! If not years, like holy cow! Um, they've been losing their butts on Star Wars for crying out loud. So, and I'll actually talk a little bit about that here in a minute. So, a lot of people are probably going, "Why is Isaac saying that YouTube is one of the worst run companies?" Um, aside from the money generation, okay, let's first start with that. I'll actually start with that as just a basics of kind of giving people an idea. YouTube has been basically trying to stick to ad revenue as its main source of income, and it's only gaining them about 1.7 to 1.8 billion a month. Now, this has been through multiple catastrophes where ad revenue has dropped, just bottomed out for them several times. And despite multiple scares, they just refuse to alter their business model, which really, if you want to think about it, YouTube should be more operating on a media style business model. So let me explain that. When you're talking about media companies like Disney, like Fox, like all these other businesses, believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, their movies are not where they make their money. Case in point, even if a movie makes $1 billion, the studio actually only gets about 30 or 40% of the box office. So if a movie makes $1 billion, they're only making 400 million. Okay? The mass majority of where their money comes from is merchandise. The movies, believe it or not, 9 times out of 10 are glorified ads for t-shirts. It's true. It's hilarious, but it's true. That's actually why George Lucas made so much money when he started up Star Wars. Fox got their money from the box office. They got a share of the revenue from merchandise, but George kept the rights to merchandise. Okay? So, which is how actually he kind of managed to be able to fund not just the next two films from New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. It's also how he funded the prequels too. And literally, the box office, like I said, isn't that big of an importance. It's the selling the holy crap loads of t-shirts, action figures, and the lunch boxes and everything else that comes with it. Okay? Merchandise, to quote Mel Brooks from Spaceballs, merchandising, Spaceballs the movie, Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs this, Spaceballs that. Yeah, that's where most of their money comes from. Okay? Most of their money in media does not come from advertising. It comes from merchandising, whatever the hell it is. Uh, it's mainly like t-shirts, hoodies, all kinds of stuff. Even conventions. A lot of your actors in between gigs, in between films, a lot of their money comes from going to conventions, from talking to us as a customer and as a movie goer or a fan, where we spend like $100 a pop to sit there and sign pictures with them. Okay, that's where a lot of their money is going to come from. So YouTube really not only should have been taking cues from the content creators and actually helping us make merchandise, which on a global scale, if you have 250 million channels out of the 2.5 billion users, sell 2,000 shirts, and YouTube makes only about $5 to $5 a shirt in net profit, they're getting at least $2.5 trillion in net profit. Now, if you're sitting there going, holy crap, that's a lot more than the 1.7 billion that they're making currently, yes, it is. Yes, there's a lot more money for YouTube to actually work with content creators making merchandise than trying to fret over advertisers, which they're not even making a whole lot of cash from. Their whole growth, consider that 1.7 billion is gross income. So even if YouTube makes 1.7 billion a month, they're still spending 800 to 900 million a month just operating. So they're making just about twice what their operating cost is. Okay? That's it. They're not making any more from that. They're not making any less than that. Which for again a multinational corporation with 2.5 billion customers monthly, that is pathetic. Okay? X, which has a fraction of the user base, makes that. You have Rumble that makes close to that, with again a fraction of that user base, less than 10% of what YouTube's user base is. So really, yeah, if you total just net profits from t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs, let's say you get $5 a shirt. Each channel sells 2,000 shirts, which that's not very difficult, especially for your larger channels. You're getting 2.5 trillion in just net profit. Hoodies, let's say YouTube gets $10 for net profit from a hoodie. They sell, if they get 250 million channels that sell just 2,000 hoodies, they're looking at $5 trillion in net profit. Now, mugs, again, even if all YouTube gets is $5 net profit, that's still another 2.5 trillion. So that's 3 types of merchandise. And they're already making $11 trillion globally a month. 33 per quarter. Okay? To say that YouTube is making a drop in a bucket compared to what they could make is an understatement. So, and the thing is like this is just dumb decision after dumb decision of just trying to fight content creators all the time. Right now, they're having a crisis where they're talking about invalid uh, interaction or invalid watch time, where YouTube's claiming that channels are getting their views from invalid sources. Of course, their clarification of invalid sources, things like third-party promotion companies and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there, and which, by the way, when I hear third-party promotion company, I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute. So aren't you guys Don't you guys work with companies like Sprizzy? Aren't they supposed to be like YouTube partners? It almost sounds like YouTube's not so much half angry about people getting third-party assistance to promote their channels, which, by the way, let's face it, a lot of corporations do. It sounds more like they're mad that they're not getting their cut out of it. For which I'm not surprised. Like if you go to YouTube's promotion tab under the content creator studio, right? And you go to promote a video, they won't let you do less than a $50 budget for one video. Now, if I can sit there and go to a third party and they'll promote me until they get me another 5,000 subscribers for $350, and I can sit there and send as many links as I want, what am I going to be more inclined to do? Pay you some $50 a video, which, by the way, I'm kind of trying to do that to try and test it out and see just how effective it is. So far, I can say I'm not impressed. I really am not impressed with YouTube's promotion. Okay. I have had their promotion as of the recording of this video. I've been having their promotion run for like 3 days, and I have not gained a single view from that promotion at all. I have never in my life had a company less enthused to take my money before. This is a new one. I've never had a corporation so not enthused to get my money from me like this, okay? it's silly. It really is. Now, personally, I'd say, maybe if people wouldn't necessarily need to go through promotion companies if YouTube actually fixed their discoverability for videos anyway. If they spent less time trying to curtail people from passing out what they consider misinformation and trying to censor things that make no sense. And it's, by the way, it's not even on one end of the political aisle or either, or the other. Literally, they're going after everybody. So they're really not making friends anywhere. Personally, I would say that it's actually a very bad idea to be going after your customers as a platform that shares videos, especially when you have competitors like X and Rumble starting to crop up. Which again, that's a whole nother ball of wax in itself. The fact that YouTube has become so frustrating for content creators to the extent that you've had content creators effectively banding together to form not one competitor to Walmart to YouTube, but four of them. I don't know how badly of a measure of you're doing a terrible job running your company that you could possibly have if your independent contractors decide to basically in 4 times in a very short period of time go, screw this, I'm going to make my own version of this company with blackjack and hookers. uh it kind of should tell you just how badly you're running things at that point. when when you have just constant stream of competitors being put together, just understand how expensive it is to even do that. Okay, it costs millions of dollars just to get the server equipment, to get the room, to get the office space to do all of this. And YouTube has managed to successfully irritate a bunch of people enough times that they have done this 4 times to do this, to spend that kind of money to sit there and create the infrastructure to compete with them. You have got to really mess up when your customers decide, screw you, I'm going to go make my own establishment doing the exact same business just to spite you. Okay, that is a whole nother level of failure in and of itself. I very rarely see that. You see it every now and again. You see it once in a while where you get a handful of workers from someplace that get fed up with the treatment, so they decide, hey, let's all take our skills and go work for ourselves. But I've never seen it quite this bad on this kind of scale. And especially have not seen it so bad on a scale where one of the richest men on the planet is willing to go spend enormous amount of money just to spite you because he doesn't like how you're running your platform, or he doesn't like how a lot of the social media companies are being run. Like, these are warning signs that should pretty much already be telling you just how badly you're running these things. Okay? When it gets to the point where you're just making constant bad decisions, right? When YouTube becomes so determined to fight to use ad revenue that they're willing to go to fisticuffs with users using ad blockers because how dare you let's do the smart thing and do what all the other media companies do and switch from a ad-based revenue and making ad-based revenue more of a footnote for us and switch to more of a merchandise based business. Hi, kitty. Give the attention. You kind of can't really feel bad for him. But if I'm being honest, like, you see this a lot with pretty much almost every single corporation a lot of the times, and I think one of the main reasons why that is, if we're being honest, a lot of these corporations are not being run by people who actually have any real stake in the corporation. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me explain. It's actually kind of a common misconception that people have that the CEO is just the majority shareholder. But the reality is that in the modern day and age, your CEO, for the most part, most of them are not majority shareholders at all. They are there working on behalf of the board and supposedly of the shareholders. They get their positions through office politics. Not because they own the majority of a company, but because they're there because they managed to kiss the right behinds and be able to brown nose the right people. So literally, they don't have to care much beyond their legal obligation to the shareholders. Which, given what I just said about YouTube, I guarantee you, if a Google shareholder heard all that, then they might not be too happy if enough of them hear it. Uh, but yeah, a lot of these corporations are not being run by people who actually have any real stake in them. Most of these CEOs, what they'll do is, even if they get stock options for the company instead of necessarily payment, is they'll then trade that stock for other companies that they're not running. And matter of fact, you'll see that even in the board. I mean, take Elon Musk, for example, when he bought X, which is now Twitter, or which used to be Twitter. The board, the CEO, between all of them, they barely had like 20 shares between them. The people running everything barely owned any piece of the company. The board members were mostly oil barons or had businesses in other sectors and other industries, and they were running a social media company and barely understood what they were doing. To be fair to the boomers and the Gen X's that do this, like, these are industries that they're not familiar with. They don't work like your standard corporation normally does. They don't work like your pharmaceutical company or your normal consumable goods corporation. What you have is companies that people want good products for, and if those expectations aren't met or aren't met in the way that they want, you have a bunch of CEOs and like going, but we gave you what you wanted, and they're like, no, you didn't, and then sit there in confusion. But that is kind of the problem. You have, honestly, I would say, not so much greed, just incompetence. Like I said, greed insinuates that you're trying to make as much money as you reasonably can, right? If I can take 5 minutes and calculate how much money YouTube could make just selling merchandise as opposed to being an advertisement based business, um, I'm pretty damn sure YouTube's management and executives could do the same thing, right? If it takes me, who is, granted, I'm not your normal cashier, right? I was raised by my mom and my dad who ran their own small business. I'm familiar with that world because I grew up in it. I was molded by it. To quote something I said in the community post, I'm practically the bane of business in the sense that I was molded by it, grew up in it. I wasn't someone's employee until I was already a full-grown man. So, so I'm the brand of Walmart cashier that scares people. You think I know nothing, but in reality, I know everything. um, but it is. It's just watching these companies being badly run, and you have these companies that are getting strikes against them because they're not paying people. To me, I'm sitting there going like, "What did you expect?" Right? Uh, you look at costs of living. Costs of living are intrinsic to the costs of the labor market. And I think a lot of people recently have definitely in higher ups have forgotten that the labor market is just that. It's a market. You know, if you don't pay people enough money, to where they can live comfortably, working 40 hours a week, then you can guarantee they're not going to give you their all. That's not a surprise. That's a reality check. If it costs $4,000 for a decent apartment and you have to have 5 different people to afford it, which should be a red flag in and of itself. If it takes 5 people to pay for one good, that should tell you that there's issues. Okay? If 5 people have to band together to get a $4,000 a month apartment, should tell you you need to lower your costs. Or lower your price, I should say. And especially because I've actually even mathed this out. If your apartment complex costs you $5,000 a month from your mortgage, which when you get your mortgage, of course, the mortgage encompasses the cost of building it, the land, everything, right? And you have 20 units in that apartment. That cost is only $250 a unit. Reasonably, all you need is $750 a unit to actually make to cover your costs and make a reasonable profit. Okay. If you have multiple different room sizes and different apartments, let's say you have apartments that are 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom, and a single studio, right? So you take the studio apartment, you charge $500. You take the 1 bedroom, charge $750, and then you charge $1,000 for the 2 bedroom. Fairly reasonable, fairly straightforward. The problem that we're having is a lot of these corporations are not logically thinking about actual costs versus what they're actually demanding from customers. And then on top of that, they're forgetting things that we've learned in the last 100 years or so. One of the main things reasons why we have a 40-hour work week and we get paid so much was because little gentleman by, Henry Ford figured out that, hey, if I actually pay people more money, give them free time off to spend that money, they tend to do that. More often than not, too, he figured out that the people who are usually buying your goods are going to be people who work for you. Something I've actually said more than a few times is that people who buy McDonald's are usually people who work at McDonald's or who work retail. If you usually can buy better than McDonald's, you're not going to go to McDonald's if you don't have to. If you can afford better than McDonald's, you're going to go to better than McDonald's. So, every person that you don't pay a comfortable wage for is going to eventually cause them, especially if you have a mass number of people, and they're finding it where they're not being able to afford living conditions, they're not able to afford good food, so on and so forth, just basic needs, they're going to start turning either to the government or if they're part of a union, they're going to go and do a strike. And I have never seen corporations fight so hard to do the opposite of what's actually good for their businesses. Because when you impoverish your customer base, okay, when you impoverish the customer base, and you impoverish yourself. As a business, you need people to make money to make money. If the people that you need to be your customers are broke and poor, they're not going to buy your stuff, which means you're not going to be able to sell anything, which means you end up broke and poor. And the thing about why you should pay good wages, well, if anything, as a capitalist, you want to pay good wages because if you don't pay good wages, someone else will. Right? You have to convince people to work for you. People are not mandatory to work for you. Nothing is mandatory. Nobody is entitled to anybody's labor or anybody's time or anybody's resources. If you want people to work for you, you have to convince them to work for you. The best way to convince people to work for you is to pay them well, to make sure that their needs are taken care of and that they live comfortably. If you are unwilling to pay that and people don't decide to work for you and they go work for your competitor, that's your screw up. That's where you screw up. Okay? If the competitor can pay better, can charge a fraction of what your costs are, and does so, and you go bankrupt, that's your fault. Okay? One of the main things you don't do is you don't fight your customers. You don't try and impoverish everyone around you and then go, why is no one buying anything? And one of the other things you need to be, especially above all else, which I've definitely noticed a lot with these corporations, is they are dishonest as hell. Like, they are willing to lie to everybody's faces and then act surprised when everyone turns against them. Like, one of the main things about being in business is you want to honor your agreements. When you say you're going to do something, you do that thing to the best of your ability. You honor your deals, you honor your agreements, you try to be as honest and truthful with people as you can. And honestly, I'm going to say, as a content creator, I've noticed that yes, YouTube is not as honest as they want us to believe they are. I have literally, as a content creator, right? YouTube tells us that the algorithm works based on the idea that if people search up an item, right, or watch a video, that they will be served additional videos that are similar to that item. So let's say if you're a small content creator, right, if you do FNAF videos all the time, correct? That would mean that your videos should have a chance to pop up in any search that talks about Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, consider this. Okay? It may not get you thousands of views, but it would mean that at the very least that you would get at least a handful of people, even if all they do is click on it and go, oops, wrong video, and move on. I have had personally videos on this platform that have been on this platform for 4 years and have 0 views for the entire duration they've been on this platform. Not even a single click of, oops, wrong video, moving on, right? Now, if you have issues like that, YouTube should not be surprised, A, that people are paying for services to promote their channels. Because, again, why would I pay $50 to promote one video when I can pay $300 and promote the entire channel, right? But YouTube should also not be surprised when people don't trust them when they try to say that the algorithm works a certain way or it doesn't work a certain way. When people can visually see with their own 2 eyes what's going on, it is a lot harder for them to believe something that you say because you copy pasted it a million times. And again, one of the things I don't think that YouTube's really upset honestly, that about third-party advertisers, because let's be fair, let's be realistic, right? Most of the corporations use exactly that. Third-party promotional sites alongside YouTube's own sites so that they can grow their stuff without having to go through the same rigmarole as an independent. But if YouTube really wanted to go after that, what they would find is they would have to go after, more often than not, a lot of your corporate channels And I don't think they want to do that. I think they want to try and get cozy and be political about it with these corporations. Because again, the reason why YouTube might not want to actually go to a merchandise based business model is if they make advertisers a footnote of where their income comes from, it wouldn't make much sense for when Mickey goes, ho ho, do what I want or I take my money away. From the sit there and go, please don't beat me, Master Mickey. If that was literally just a footnote of their income, YouTube would basically be like, ha ha ha, good luck. We don't care. We make more money than what we get from you anyway. If anything, and it's funny, is even if they want to talk about supporting political things too, I would actually think that it would actually be easier to support any kind of political agenda you would want by making a ton of more money. Because literally, to quote Prince Vegeta and Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I'm about to turn left, and I don't want to hit you with my big dick. Because when you have literally trillions of dollars effectively to just throw at whatever cause you want, you know, whatever you want is going to get done, regardless. But, which is also the kind of the same point. I'm like, oh no, we might have to support creators we don't like. If you're doing the thing I'm talking about, you'll be making trillions anyway. The content creator will be making maybe $1 million a year. Whatever money they donate is gonna be chump change compared to what you can throw at what you want to do. Then again, I mean, they also want content creators to stop complaining about them and doing stuff that's like, yeah, we'd probably stop complaining if you made your business model more based on us instead of trying to appease corporations that honestly don't even really make that much money from. But I don't want this video getting too long for you guys, so I hope you enjoyed this little podcast. I'll see you in the next video, but actually, if anything before that, I'll see you guys in our Wednesday at 4 p.m. live stream. I'm going to be doing FNAF Security Breach. A lot of you guys seem to really like FNAF Security Breach, so that's awesome. So I'll be making sure that you guys get to see us do that. We're going to be seeing if we can get the true ending. And I'll see you guys Wednesday, and if not Wednesday, I'll see you Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm putting out at least a new video every single day. So feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below, all that great stuff. Thanks for watching.